I've got a goal at the moment to get back into reading physical books. For a while there, I got stuck into that Kindle Unlimited loop, and I think I just got like trapped by the feeling of getting free books and everything all the time. And what I found was, because it felt like I wasn't really paying for them, I wasn't even finishing half the books that I started, and I found that I was just, as soon as I got bored, I would move on to something else and not even finish, and it would just sit there. And yeah, it was just started to get to a really, really bad habit. And now that I think back on it, a lot of them weren't memorable. I mean, there were some good titles in there, but like thinking back, like right now I can't even like think of any. Whereas like when I have memories of reading physical books, they're again like more memorable. Maybe it's the whole tactile feeling, or maybe it's because you're immerse in a little bit more, like you're physically holding it. Where it comes to an ebook, it's just easy to flick through and read it and like rush read and stuff as well. And yeah, I just found that I wasn't really absorbing it much anymore, and I kind of miss that feeling of reading physical books, because for a while there, and thinking back on it, it was probably about 2 months until I picked up like another physical book. I just got stuck in that like digital loop. And like I know they always say that, you know, you want to limit the amount of electronics and stuff that you use before bed. So now I'm getting back into physical books for health or whatever reason, so I can sleep a little bit better or limit like blue light. I could always get a Kindle, but I had the free app on my phone and that's just what I was using. But again, it's not my goal to limit blue light or limit electronics. It's just to actually get back into that feeling of reading physical books again. So here I am having a detox from ebooks at the moment. I'm still listening to a few audiobooks, so I won't include them in this video, but I'm going to show some books that I bought in the month of May, and I was pretty lucky. I actually went to a $2 book fair last week and got a whole bunch then. There's a few others that I bought outside of that, but I thought it would be a good time to show and kind of like talk through why I bought them, because I've set a few rules in place for myself. The ultimate goal is just to get back into a good routine reading physical books again, just like I used to. So the few rules that I put in place myself, I actually wrote them down. So making sure I pick books from a range of genres so I don't get caught in that urban fantasy or romance bubble, mainly because I am writing a fantasy book and I want to make sure that I get inspo from all different areas. And that's just kind of the thing that I understand, that if I get inspiration from different genres, from different aspects, from, you know, fiction and like non-fiction as well, it's just going to help my writing overall. Like I want to be able to not be narrow in my taste and the things that I read, because again, I understand that the broader the range of like books and stuff that I read, you know, more inspiration will come and more ideas will come, and I'll be able to use these different aspects from these different areas to help improve myself, help improve my writing, help with character development. Yeah, just all that kind of stuff around, because again, if I just stick to that one genre, then that's all I'm pulling from, and then I just don't want it to feel repetitive in a way. And like, I do understand that nothing is really original these days anymore, but there still can be a unique take on something. So I know having a broad range of things will be able to help with that and be able to help with my writing. So even though sometimes I might be a little bit hesitant to start, or it might take a little bit to get through because it's not something I'm used to reading, I know it's going to be more beneficial long term. Also, with all the new books that I pick up, they'll need to have either like decent Amazon reviews or like a really good Goodreads rating, just because I don't have a lot of time and I want to make sure the books that I am reading are kind of like worth my time in a way. And I know, you know, there's probably a bunch of great books out there and a great bunch of stories out there that would have like limited, like maybe like 100 reviews or something like that, and they're just going to build in time and build a momentum. But I think for now, what I really want to do as a starting point is just to make sure that the books that I am currently picking, I am currently reading, just have a decent amount, I guess. And then that way, eventually when I do have more time, or I can pick up different books and things like that, then I'll have, I guess, a little bit more freedom in the things that I get to read and get to pick. But I think at this stage, just because I do have a big bookshelf behind me as well, and I bet there's probably some books on there that aren't really great, so I do need to go through and do a bit of a cull. I think for now, the books that I am currently reading, especially the physical ones, audiobooks I'll have a little bit more freedom with, but yeah, they'll just need to have a good amount of reviews or a good amount of like a rating. That way it's a bit easier to pick, I think, and then I can just kind of go from there. And really, I just don't want my bookshelf to be like a decorative background. Like, I want it to be put to good use. I want to be using those books and reading those books and be able to reference those books. Like, I'm not, like, I don't mind if I like dog ear and highlight and tag and stuff in them. Like, that's totally fine, because I pick a lot of the books up secondhand. So I'm not fussed if they get a little bit rugged eventually. I mean, a lot of the ones, like, they tend to get yellowed and stuff over time. But again, like, I'm not worried about being a little bit rough with the books. I'll still take good care of them. And especially with the new ones, I'll probably take a little bit more extra care with them anyway. But they're meant to be used and loved and not just sitting on a shelf getting dusty. So yeah, I think it was just, I got to a point where, again, I was just reading like just random ebooks and I wasn't even touching the bookshelf behind me, and I was still buying a few books here and there, and nothing was getting read, and I felt bad for these poor little books. So that's why I have this goal of just putting the Kindle to the side for now, and just before bed, just having a good like little reading block, or even on my days off, just spending 2 hours just reading and just enjoying some sort of new story or new drama or true fiction, like whatever it is. Like I just want to be able to get a little bit more broader with what I'm reading, and then tackle what's behind me. And when I do buy new books, actually buy books that I know that I'm eventually going to read, and not just be like a pretty thing on a shelf. Okay, so the first book I'm going to show in the haul is The Invention of Wings by Sue Monk Kidd. It's actually, the main character is called Sarah, so unintentional that I picked up a book like this. But this one is, what did it say here? So it's a historical fiction, and it's loosely inspired by real events. So it's about race and womanhood and rebellion. It had really good Amazon reviews, and they wrote another book called The Secret Life of Bees, which I've heard of as well, and I'm pretty sure it's on my to buy book list that I have. I haven't found it secondhand just yet, and that's what I like to buy books secondhand anyway, because they don't have to be in pristine condition or anything. Like, they just need to be a decent story. But when I went to that $2 book sale, it was very busy and very cluttered inside, and as I was kind of like roaming around looking for books, this was actually one of the first ones I picked up, because I've heard of the author before and I know the first one's really good, or I heard it's really good. So I picked up this one, and yeah, it's not going to go to waste on the bookshelf. I will get around to it eventually. I mean, there's a reason why it has over, 52,000 reviews on Amazon and over 250,000 ratings on Goodreads. So it's that popular for a reason. So I look forward to reading this one, because I'm like, I don't mind a bit of historical fiction, or I do like history, and I think you get to learn a lot from history. So yeah, it's not going to be a waste on my shelf. I'm going to enjoy reading it. So yeah, that's the first one I picked up. The next one was Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. This one was just, I saw the color and I picked it up and I was like, oh, what's this one about? Because I get attracted to bright colors and stuff sometimes. And this one was about like a very like domestic kind of relationship. So it's fiction, drama, and I kind of really liked the idea that it was from both perspectives of the husband and the wife, so that dual POV. And whenever I read books, I really like that dual sort of POV, and the one that I'm writing at the moment does have that aspect as well. And me being a woman, obviously I can write from a woman's point of view, but writing from a man's point of view would actually be a little bit hard. So I think picking up books that do have either like having that like male point of view or having that dual point of view will help me in my writing and help be able to create those characters. Obviously I do have like a partner and I can get inspiration and stuff from him, but obviously when it comes to really wanting to reflect proper emotions, I think having something that's a little bit more like, well, it says here domestic, but something that's a little bit more about like people and humans and emotions, I think would be good. So it doesn't have heaps and heaps of reviews, but I think just the fact that it's a little bit different from everything else that I read was a good idea. And yeah, it will probably be one of those things that I'll be able to just grab a little bit extra inspiration from, because again, it's completely different from what I normally read. I haven't read these books. All I've done is done a quick like review search and stuff. So I'm sure I will like it. There's probably a reason why a lot of people have reviewed it and gave it a good ranking. It's just like those, I just want books to be able to inspire, to be able to create different ideas and things like that. And I think this is one of the books that'll be able to do that. For the next one, I got a little dystopian book. This one again was from the $2 book sale, so I was pretty stoked that I think that day I only ended up spending like $15, and yeah, got a bunch of books. It was absolutely amazing. Some were like less than $2, like I think there was like a 50-cent book. I can't remember which one it was, but you know, it doesn't hurt to get a few books for $15, which is really nice. But this one here, I got it again because of the color, like it was very bright, but it has Margaret Atwood on the front just saying Gripling. I know not to always like pay attention to those kind of things, because it could have just been a singular quote or a singular word about the author, the book, maybe the type of story. It's like, what do you think about this? So I understand sometimes those quotes can be a little bit embellished sometimes. I don't mind a good dystopian book. Like I've read a bunch like a really long time ago. You know, the classics like Hunger Games, and George Orwell's like 1984, 85, far out, I really should know that. But anyway, like I've read like a bunch of those kind of books before, and this one was just a really, really interesting story. So it's about the social order. It's got themes of obedience and sacrifice, and it's just like a very kind of like hive mind type of aspect. And I just really liked that idea. Like I really enjoyed that Big Brother kind of like George Orwell sort of style, because it was, when I read it back in high school, it was just, I've never read anything like that before, and it's just interesting. And you kind of see that sort of like have themes in real life and things. And usually with the dystopian, it's kind of a bit like a social commentary of like what could happen if we're not careful. So I think I'll enjoy this book. It's just a very, very interesting sort of style story. I haven't really read a blurb or anything like that before. And yeah, like it's that little bit of like a sci-fi kind of like aspect to it. So again, something different from what I normally would read most of the time, and cute little cover, which I like, and yeah, just another good book to add to the collection. Another one that I found that day is actually a classic. So it is H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu. I think I had to look up that word to make sure I pronounced it right, but it's The Call of Cthulhu and Other Weird Stories. So obviously H.P. Lovecraft, absolute like classic author, writes like super weird, like wacky things. So for someone who wrote like a very, very long time ago, again, like it would be good inspo to just get different ideas, or even just to have like a different way of thinking about characters, a different way of like explaining things. And for this particular one, so it's got just like a collection of stories. It's a cosmic horror, and I actually don't read any horror whatsoever. Like I don't even like watching horror movies. I'm a bit of like a scaredy cat when it comes to that kind of thing. And I mean, it could be good. I'm not sure if a book would be super scary as opposed to a movie, because it's usually the music and like the dun dun duns that kind of like scare the crap out of me anyway. But I think having something like this would be good to have, and I will probably end up collecting a few other books anyway. But it is absolute classic, and I look forward to just consuming some of the short stories, and I think it would be a relatively easy read to be able to do. But for a classic book, less than $2, I think was a bit of a steal, to be honest. So yeah, again, it's another one of those things I'm happy to put into the shelf. I know it'll be one of those things I'll be able to just read on the occasion, and I think Drew will probably end up reading this one as well, because he has a few in the collection. But the whole idea is different style books, different inspiration, and yeah, be able to help my own writing in the long term. The next one I'm probably least interested in reading. I don't know why I picked it up. It just seemed interesting. I don't know. Like, it's called Eat My Words by Marion Halligan, and she's a writer, but also in this particular book just writes about food. So it's like, if you like stories and if you like food, this book is great. And I was like, hey, I like those two things. So that's why I picked it up. So it's not in the best condition, and there's a few little drawings and stuff in the inside. So I guess I'll just wait and see, and I'll try to read it and see if I do actually like it, but just maybe how that storytelling aspect translates to like recipes and books and things. I mean, it could be useful, I don't know. Again, it's just not something I would normally pick up or normally read. She's Australian as well, so that might help in my particular aspect. It's just different. Again, try to pick up things that are different, or pick up things I wouldn't normally. It doesn't have a lot of reviews. Like I said, this is probably the one that I'm least keen on giving a shot, but the thing is, because I bought it, I will give it a shot. Like, that's the whole goal. So who knows, I could end up actually loving it, but it just could be something that was just surprisingly nice that I added to my collection. But if I don't, then I can just always redonate it. And that's the whole thing about getting books secondhand. If you don't end up reading them, or if you have to do a cull or whatever it is, you can just redonate it, and someone else might pick it up and someone else might enjoy it. And that's always the love of you having secondhand books and that whole aspect. And that's why I love hunting for secondhand books, because someone else has had it before, someone else has read it, and someone else has either loved it or haven't loved it, but you know, they've gotten rid of it for a reason. And yeah, maybe they wanted other people to read it, maybe they're just saying maybe don't read it, but who knows. Like, I don't know, it's the whole idea about having secondhand books and giving things a shot. So if I don't end up liking it, that's fine. I'll just redonate it. I was actually very surprised that I found this one. So this one's called Noise, and I've read the Thinking Fast and Slow, which they're saying is a companion piece to this. And this one's more about judgment, whereas the other one was more about obviously like making like decisions quicker and like smarter decisions and just being able to have that thought process. This one seems to be a little bit more about the understanding behind it, but also reducing errors at the same time. I get distracted very easily. I mean, the title's called Noise as well, and that's one of the reasons why I picked it up. I just saw it, the spine sort of poking out, so I didn't even realize it was attached to the author of Thinking Fast and Slow. So I really enjoyed that one, so I'll probably really enjoy this one as well. So I think it's a good one to add to the collection, but it's one of the few non-fiction ones that I've picked up this month. Like I keep saying, different books, different ideas, different thinking, and a lot of it will hopefully be able to consolidate and be able to give me that inspiration I'm seeking and just give me those different ideas. But with something like this, especially with non-fiction and especially with books that can help you with decisions or reducing your errors or whatever it is, will always have some sort of benefit. And with any kind of like self-help book or with any kind of like resourcey kind of book, you just take the aspects that you want from it and then you can use. For this one here, will go right next to my Thinking Fast and Slow book anyway, and I will get around to it. And yeah, it's just about having that balance of like different types of books. So yeah, happy I found this one. Again, it was one of those $2 sale ones. I think I ended up paying $1 for it. So yeah, very cheap, not fussed, and yeah, happy I found this one at the book sale. The next one is a little bit different. It's actually a cookbook, so this won't be one that I'll be reading before bed, but it's the Great Australian Cookbook, and the artwork was done by Reg Mombassa, which I didn't mind picking up. Like it's all the classic Australian artwork that's in there, but again, there's a whole bunch of just like classic Australian recipes. I'm a fan of food and a fan of cooking, and I love a good just like artfully done like cooking book with beautiful photos and everything in there, because if it has a really nice photo, obviously that's going to be something that's going to attract you for wanting to make the recipe. But I like the idea that it's recipes from a whole bunch of chefs around the whole of Australia as well. Usually with cookbooks that we pick up, they tend to be like cuisine based, or they tend to be, you know, the fancy like Frenchy kind of ones, just things that you can't get all the time. But with this one here, it kind of tells a bit of a story and has a whole bunch of different people in there that, you know, are Australian icons or Aussie classics. And it's pretty rare to find like a cookbook in a really, really good condition sometimes, because they tend to be used in the kitchen and there tends to be a lot of like food and stuff on them, or I don't know, sometimes they're just, yeah, not always in the best condition. So I'm really happy I found this one, and it's going to go in the kitchen or in our cookbook space, and I'll be able to use a whole bunch of recipes from there. But just the fact that the artwork's also designed by Reg Mombassa, if you don't know who that is, he's the one that designs all like the Mambo stuff, and that's all kind of like sought after in like the vintage clothing community. And yeah, like the fact that I didn't even know they like had a cookbook and stuff, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, I know I'll be using this one and looking up some cool recipes to eat and to make. And I don't know, I like a good cookbook. I know it's not like the same as everything else that I purchased, but again, it is a book that I purchased in May, so I'll show it during my book haul. It's not going to be all one genres all the time, and yeah, I'm kind of happy it isn't, and I'm happy I found like a really decent like cookbook. Look how cute this one is with the cover. So it is The Binding by Bridget Collins. I don't think I actually have any Bridget Collins books, but this one is a historical fiction. I've read a little bit of like historical fiction fantasy stuff before, so I think the most recent one was The Discovery of Witches, which was like okay-ish. And this one here, it says it's got like people can have their memories bound into books, but the main character doesn't remember why his was bound. So that it's very, very interesting, which is something that attracted me to it. And again, pretty decent ratings. And I do like a good cover, and it's hardback as well. I always do love a good hardback, and considering it's actually in decent condition as well for something like that. So I think I might read this one next, maybe after the current book I'm reading at the moment. So we'll see. It is a fantasy one, so I don't want to dive like straight back into like fantasy stuff as well. But just from reading the description and stuff, it just seems very interesting and very unique. So I do look forward to reading it. And again, like I said, I do love a good hardcover. I do love the design on the book as well. I'm sure it would have had some sort of slip cover eventually, but again, because it's secondhand, you don't really know what happens to that stuff. The paper covers tend to get destroyed after a while anyway. But yeah, I'm really happy this one was found, and I'm excited to get to read it at one point. I mean, I'm going to be reading everything. That is the goal, I know. And as long as I just don't fall back into the trap of reading back into Kindle, like I'm not going to never read Kindle books ever again. I just need a break from it, I think, is a big thing. And I've got so many books back there that I really need to start reading. And like I said, I just don't want it to be like a decorative background. Like I want it to be books I'm actually reading and books that I actually love and things that I can actually reread if I want to, or go back and if I'm like struggling with my writing, like have a reference point and be like, oh, I really liked that particular aspect of like a character. I really liked how they described such and such or whatever it is. Like I just want to create like a physical like reference and a physical like catalog in a way. I don't know if that's a common thing that people do, but that's sort of like the goal or the design that I kind of want to do with the books that I have. So the books that I have, decent books, decent reviews, like worth my time, all that stuff. And yeah, just actually have like useful things in this space that I have. And the book that I'm actually currently reading, and one of the few, actually, it's the only brand new one that I've picked up this month. It's Butter. And honestly, again, it was a bit of a cover thing, but I've heard some really good reviews about it. It is originally Japanese, so it has been translated. And what I'm finding so far is the translation's totally fine. Like it doesn't feel disjointed or disconnected, which I've read some before in the past where it doesn't quite match up sometimes, but I find this one has been translated really, really well. It has a bunch of great reviews on there, but this one's just pure fiction as well. It's got some true crime in there. It's like journalism. There's a big theme around like feminism and like roles in society and how like both like men and women sort of view each other or like what they need from each other. And it's got a bit of like cooking and stuff in there, so there's like some culinary things, which is really interesting. I mean, it is named Butter for a reason. And it's just, this is the first one I chose to dive into after like kind of like culling back like the whole like Kindle thing and just wanting to get back into reading physical books. And I think this is a really, really decent one to start off with because it's not a difficult read. Like I can like kind of get into the story and get a momentum. It's like from a female point of view. And yeah, it's just like a workaholic trying to just rediscover life for the first time, it almost feels like. So I'm really enjoying this one so far. I thought it was just something that was a little bit different, a little bit interesting. And yeah, like it's like true story, like not true story, but it's like loosely based on like a true story, and went to Japan last year. So when they talk about like different locations, like, oh, I've been there, I know what they're talking about. So it doesn't seem so like far-fetched in a way. I feel like I can relate to a little bit in a way because something I'm a tiny bit familiar with, and it's about like societal pressures and about, you know, pressures on yourself and all that kind of thing. So far I've only read 3 chapters, so I'm up to like chapter 4 at the moment, but so far so good, really enjoying it, but also happy I picked it up for the month of May. Yeah, it's a very random kind of like collection that I have for the month of May, and I really don't know what to expect. I don't expect that I'll read everything straight away as well, because I do want to tackle some of the stuff behind me. And looking at my calendar, there are a few book fairs coming up in the next month or so I'll probably end up going to them and picking up a few extra books. But I think this time around, what I'll really do, and like I did for the recent book fair I went to, is just really be conscious of the books that I do pick up and just make sure they kind of like fall into those rules that I've made. Because in the past I've gone to like op shops and I've gone to like book fairs and stuff, and I'll just pick up and like, oh, that sounds kind of cool, without doing like any research or anything. So yeah, I think a big thing will be having a list of books that I have researched, that have good reviews, that I know that will help, and have that as a reference. And then if there's anything that's not on that list that I do want to pick up, then actually making sure that they are good books and not just like okay books. That's it. So if you have any book recommendations, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Like I'm always happy for recommendations if you have any good ones, or if I have picked up any in this video that you've read that you really liked, let me know, or you've read and not liked, also let me know. So always happy, willing to give new things a shot as always. And yeah, I'm excited for whatever new books that I pick up, but also if I can keep on this momentum of not touching my Kindle for a little bit and just read physical books and get back to that old feeling that I used to have before Kindles even existed, maybe. Like I was a big reader in high school and my early 20s. Like I remember like pre-ordering the Harry Potter books and stuff like that. Like it's those little memories of going to the bookstore, picking up the book, and then literally not sleeping for a whole night or staying up until like 3 a.m. just to read just that little bit more or just that next chapter, and just getting caught in that little loop. I mean, not always great anyway, but I don't know. Like it's just something that I've been wanting to do for ages, and I've just decided now's the best time for it. So that's it. Thank you.